The preparations are complete for President-elect Yoon Suk-yeol's inauguration ceremony. On Tuesday afternoon, the event will be held at the National Assembly with more than 40,000 guests. After leaving Cheongwade on Monday, President Moon Jae-in is officially done with his term in office. On his last day at work, the outgoing leader gave a farewell address to the nation. As Russia's invasion of Ukraine continues, there are more atrocities in the eastern and southern parts of the country. President Vladimir Putin defended his actions during a Victory Day speech, saying its forces are defending the motherland. Hello, your week's off to a smooth start. I'm Daniel Che here to bring the latest. Let's begin with our top story. President-elect Yoon Suk-yeol's office will be Yongsan, the site where the Defense Ministry had been. Cheongwade, that served as the nation's top office for decades, will then be open to tourists. Lee Kyung-eun starts us off.
South Korea will see the start of the Yoon Suk-yeol presidency on Tuesday, 63 days after the conservative president was elected on March 9th.
이 나라의 공정과 상식을 바로 세우라는 개혁의 목소리이고 국민을 편가르지 말고 통합의 정치를 하라는 국민의 간절한 호소입니다.
Yoon's term starts as the clock hits midnight with a very critical and symbolic phone call. That is Yoon's very first briefing from the Joint Chiefs of Staff as the new commander-in-chief, marking the transfer of power from his predecessor, President Moon Jae-in. He'll take the call in the underground bunker of the new presidential office in Yongsan. The bunker, known as the National Crisis Management Center, used for Presidential National Security Council meetings, has relocated from the Blue House on time without security leaks due to the relocation as Yoon planned. Also at midnight, a bell-ringing ceremony at the Poshinga Pavilion will also signal the launch of the new government. Yoon, due to the phone call, won't be there. Then Yoon will head to the Seoul National Cemetery to pay tribute to past presidents and fallen heroes. He will then attend the inauguration ceremony set for 11 a.m. under the slogan of, again, Republic of Korea, a new country for the people. Some 41,000 people will be there. Among them, outgoing President Moon and First Lady Kim Jong-suk, lawmakers, foreign dignitaries, and citizens. Then Yoon will head back to his office in Yongsan for a lunch ceremony. A dinner banquet with high-level guests will wrap up the day. Sources from the incoming administration say Yoon is hoping to convene his first cabinet meeting within the week with approval for the extra COVID-19 budget relief plan for small businesses likely to top the agenda. But with the delay in the approval of Prime Minister nominee Han Duck-soo as well as confirmation hearings of some minister nominees, about half of the ministerial positions are not expected to be filled until the new government is inaugurated. Deputy Prime Minister Chu Kyung-ho, who's been confirmed by the parliament, may serve as acting Prime Minister for now. Lee Kyung-eun, Arirang News.
On the final day at the top office, Moon Jae-in gave a farewell address to the nation. The outgoing leader expressed hopes the next government will carry on the legacy of the Republic of Korea. Yoon Jung-min shares with us his remarks.
Bidding farewell on Monday, President Moon said he's proud to be with the great people of South Korea and thanked them. The president said he hopes the next government will carry on the country's legacy and stressed the need for unity to overcome political division.
다음 정부에서도 성공하는 대한민국의 역사를 계속 이어나가길 기대합니다. 이전 정부들의 축적된 성과를 개성하고 발전시켜 더 국력이 커지고 더 나은 미래로 나아가길 기원합니다.
He focused on the achievements of his administration over the past 5 years, including the restoration of diplomacy and dialogue to the Korean peninsula after years of tensions. The president said it wasn't a lack of will and effort that prevented further progress towards peace, but barriers that were difficult to overcome.
남북 간의 대화 재개와 함께 비핵화와 평화의 제도화를 위한 노력이 지속되길 간절히 바랍니다.
In the afternoon, President Moon met Chinese Vice President Wang Qishan at the Blue House, who is in Seoul for incoming President Yoon Suk-yeol's inauguration on Tuesday. President Moon said bilateral ties have developed during the past 5 years towards a strategic cooperative partnership and said it hopes to seek greater cooperation.
한국의 역대 대통령 취임식 가운데 중국에서 최고위급 대표단을 보낸 것으로 그렇게 알고 있습니다. 한국과 중국 양국 간의 관계를 중시하는 시 주석님과 중국 정부의 의지를 잘 보여준다고 생각합니다.
Wang relayed to President Moon a message of friendship from President Xi. President Moon also met Singaporean President Halima Yaakob. They emphasized the strong trade and investment between the two countries and said they hope for more economic cooperation through multilateral trade agreements such as RCEP and CPTPP, as well as people-to-people exchanges. President Moon left the Blue House at around 6 p.m. on Monday with a farewell ceremony by the Blue House staffers and his supporters who gathered to see him off. Speaking to his supporters, he sent his gratitude and added he now lays down his heavy burden. After spending a night in Seoul, Moon will attend Yoon's inauguration on Tuesday, then head to his private residence in the southeastern city of Yongsan. Yoon Jung-min, Arirang News.
On May 10th, South Korea will welcome its 20th president. Before the big day comes, let's take a walk back through how previous leaders have been sworn into office. Here's Shin Yeon with the details.
74 years ago, South Korea welcomed its first ever president, Lee Seung-man.
국회는 초대 대통령의 이승만 박사, 부통령의 이시영홍을 선출.
Lee came into office just 3 years after South Korea was liberated from colonial Japan. Accordingly, his inauguration ceremony was held where the Japanese General Government's building used to stand. Lee stayed in office until 1960. Yoon Bo-seon became the 4th president of South Korea and was in office until 1962. He was replaced by Park Chung-hee, who had the longest term in office. Park had a total of 5 inauguration ceremonies before he was assassinated in 1979. His position was temporarily filled by Choi Kyu-ha, who became South Korea's 10th president. But less than a year later, Chun Doo-hwan took over following a military coup. He came into office via indirect election at sports stadiums nationwide and accordingly held both his inauguration ceremonies at Jamsil Arena in Seoul. It was only from President Roh Tae-woo when South Korean civilians were able to vote for their own president. Also, the amended constitution limited a president to just one term of 5 years. As inauguration ceremonies became pillars of South Korea's newfound democracy, they started taking place in front of the National Assembly.
새로운 시대의 개막을 선언하기 위해서 성스러운 이 민의의 전당 앞에 모였습니다.
The 14th president, Kim Yongsan, who emphasized the importance of civilians working with the government, invited regular people to attend the ceremony.
오늘 탄생되는 정부는 민주주의에 대한 국민의 불타는 열망과 거룩한 희생으로
Kim Dae-jung came into office when the IMF crisis hit Korea. During his inauguration speech, he promised to bring the country out of economic hardship.
국민 여러분은 나라의 위기를 극복하기 위해 금 모으기에 나섰습니다. 이미 20억 달러가 넘는 금을 모아주셨습니다.
As Korea developed both economically and politically, the following 3 presidents, Roh Moo-hyun, Lee Myung-bak, and Park Geun-hye, invited more civilians to their inauguration ceremonies. A total of 60,000 were invited. South Korea's 19th president, Moon Jae-in, didn't have a grand ceremony as he took office hurriedly after the impeachment of Park Geun-hye. Instead of speaking in front of a crowd, he made a pledge in front of the National Assembly. Now attention turns to the incoming President Yoon Suk-yeol and his inauguration ceremony, which takes place on Tuesday, May 10th. Shin Yeon, Arirang News.
President-elect Yoon named 20 vice ministers, Cho Hyun-dong, who served as head of the UN Investment and Technology Promotion Office in Korea, and a former Korea Foreign Service officer, is tapped as first vice foreign minister. As second vice FM, Lee Do-hoon, who served as the top new convoy, Yoon named Shin Bum-chul, chief of the Research Institute for Economy and Society, who also chairs its Security Center, as vice defense minister. And for vice minister for unification, former presidential secretary for unification, Kim Ki-young. The incoming president wants to get the administration working as soon as he takes office, so there will be no gap in running the country. Yoon will start work as the president in a few hours, but the prime minister nominee did not get the green light. Other cabinet picks are having a hard time going through the National Assembly. A hearing for arguably the most controversial ministerial pick was held Monday. Kim Do-yeon has the full story.
With only a matter of hours to go until President-elect Yoon Suk-yeol's inauguration, was a heated hearing for his nominee for Justice Minister Han Dong-hoon, Yoon's right-hand man from his days as a prosecutor. The hearing was held Monday afternoon, the Democratic Party of Korea having called off the original schedule last week, citing Han's failure to turn in relevant documents. Right off the bat, Han expressed disapproval over a recent bill passed to ultimately remove the prosecution's power to investigate, a law passed by DP which used its majority to override fierce resistance from the president-elect's party, the People Power Party.
Public concern about this is enormous. The law will make it difficult to punish corrupt politicians and public officials, and it's all too clear the damage the people would suffer in the process.
A true prosecutorial reform, he said, would mean creating a neutral prosecution and creating a balance of power between the prosecution and the police. In an effort to make this a failed nomination, lawmakers with the DP brought up alleged academic irregularities by Han's daughter, who is still in high school, as Han was the one that investigated former Justice Minister Cho Guk's scandals, including his daughter's use of illegal methods to get into medical school. Han replied, saying none of the issues brought up helped his daughter get into a school, nor will they be in the future. Another hearing held was for the Minister of Trade, Industry and Energy. Lee Chang-yang shared his vision for the nation's industries and energy policies. One notable moment was his open rejection of the idea of taking the government's trade functions away from their current place tied with industry and moving them to the Foreign Ministry.
Recently, trade with other countries has been closely tied to industrial policy. Dividing the two fields could be negative for both of them.
In the meantime, President-elect Yoon will start his term with 7 of his ministerial nominees eligible to be appointed out of a total of 18 ministries, the DP having so far turned down the other nominees. The issue at hand is that Yoon's Prime Minister pick Han Duck-soo is yet to pass Parliament, and a Prime Minister has to formally appoint the ministerial nominees as ministers. And so for now, current Prime Minister Kim Bu-kyum could continue working for a few days to appoint the eligible nominees. Kim Do-yeon, Arirang News.
Japan's prime minister claims he wants to improve ties with South Korea. Speaking ahead of President-elect Yoon's inauguration, Fumio Kishida emphasized issues between the neighboring countries cannot be left as they are. Min Suk-yeol tells us more.
Japanese Prime Minister Fumio Kishida has expressed his intent to improve ties with South Korea. While renewing his congratulations to President-elect Yoon Suk-yeol on Monday, Kishida stressed the importance of cooperation between Seoul and Tokyo. Speaking to reporters, he admitted that challenges lie ahead, but said they cannot be left untouched.
There are difficult problems between Japan and South Korea, but I don't think we can leave them as they are. Keeping promises between the countries is a basic principle. Japan will make an effort to improve ties based on our consistent position, taking into account the recent exchanges with the delegation.
To address global issues such as the Ukraine crisis and North Korea's repeated missile launches, Kishida also stressed the importance of trilateral ties between Japan, the U.S., and South Korea. In recent weeks, Tokyo and Seoul have been working to improve their South relations, with President-elect Yoon Suk-yeol sending a delegation to Japan for policy consultations in late April and Kishida sending Foreign Minister Yoshimasa Hayashi to attend Yoon's inauguration ceremony. Hayashi, who's now in Seoul, is scheduled to meet with key officials of the incoming administration, including Foreign Minister nominee Park Jin, this Monday evening. During his two-day stay, he also plans to hold a separate meeting with Yoon to deliver a letter from Kishida after attending the inauguration ceremony on Tuesday. It's the first time in 4 years for a Japanese foreign minister to visit Seoul. Min Suk-yeol, Arirang News.
South Korea's outgoing foreign minister and his American counterpart reaffirmed the importance of a strong bilateral alliance. In a farewell call on Monday, Chung Eui-yong and Antony Blinken gave positive assessments of the allies' cooperation on a wide range of global and regional issues, including North Korea, the pandemic, and climate change. The duo also further stressed the importance of close cooperation so that Pyongyang stops tension-escalating activities and return to dialogue. The nation's Unification Ministry asked for an explanation from North Korea on why a vehicle was seen recently at the Kaesong Industrial Complex, a site where South Korean businesses once operated until the regime unilaterally shut them down. The request was made on April 26, but no answer yet. Citing informed sources, the Jungang Daily reports of signs of resumed activities at Kaesong, something that could have caused a fire there in April. So Intel officials are working closely with the U.S. to monitor activity at the Punggye-ri site. Washington warned the Pyongyang's 7th nuclear test could happen early as this month. Russia's leader delivered a speech on the anniversary of the Soviet victory over Germany in World War II at a huge military parade in Moscow's Red Square. President Vladimir Putin accused the West of preparing for an invasion, leaving him no choice but to attack Ukraine. Ji-young has the latest.
Victimizing Russia, President Vladimir Putin has accused the West of preparing for an invasion of his land, provoking what he calls a special military operation in Ukraine. President Putin made the comments on Monday while presiding over the 77th Victory Day military parade in Moscow.
The NATO bloc began active military development of the territories adjacent to ours. This was an absolutely unacceptable threat systematically created for us, and it was right on our borders.
He claimed that NATO countries did not want to hear Russia's proposals for dialogue. He also defended the invasion of Ukraine, telling the troops that they're defending the motherland and its future. However, experts say the speech did not imply in any sense that Russia is backing down. The parade celebrates the Soviet Union's 1945 victory over the Nazis in World War II. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky, in a speech commemorating World War II, denounced Russia by accusing it of implementing a bloody reconstruction of Nazism.
On the day of victory over Nazism, we are fighting for a new victory. The road to it is difficult, but we have no doubt that we will win.
He added that very soon there will be 2 victory days in Ukraine, and someone, meaning Putin, won't have any. The parade comes one day after Ukrainian authorities said that due to Russia's airstrike of a village school in eastern Ukraine, more than 60 people are feared dead. The governor of the Luhansk region said Russia bombed the school's basement on Saturday, where roughly 90 local residents were sheltering. Ji-young, Arirang News.
Back here in Indonesia, a major question has been how the Yoon administration will deal with COVID-19. Its officials vowed to take a scientific approach, but what does that mean for mask wearing and self-isolation? Song Yoo-jin provides a glimpse of what to expect.
South Korea on Monday reported 20,601 new COVID-19 infections. That's down almost 20,000 from the previous day's tally due to fewer tests happening over the weekend. However, it's the first time in 8 weeks that Monday's tally increased from the week before. The slight rise is attributed to the lifting of social distancing rules, but health authorities have said that no major resurgence is expected. However, relatively small daily case numbers are forecasted to persist until autumn. With President-elect Yoon Suk-yeol starting his 5-year term on Tuesday, the sluggish decline in virus cases could impact the new administration's virus protocols. The Presidential Transition Committee has already hinted at transforming the pandemic response measures, with its chairman An Cheol-soo saying recently that they'll be based on scientific data. Starting with mandatory quarantine, currently, those infected with COVID-19 are required to self-isolate for 7 days. As health authorities are set to monitor the situation until May 22nd before changing existing guidelines, it's now up to the incoming government to decide whether to end mandatory quarantine. Yet, with the Presidential Transition Committee having expressed concern that it would be too hasty to end mandatory quarantine altogether, the measure could be extended. In terms of the mask mandate, which was lifted last week for most outdoor situations, the new administration is mulling over whether to lift the outdoor mask mandate completely by the end of May. Currently, people are required to wear masks when they take part in rallies, performances, or attend sports games that include 50 or more people. However, even if mask wearing is made exempt outdoors, masks will still be required indoors for the foreseeable future. Finally, based on the Presidential Transition Committee's 100-day COVID-19 response roadmap implementation plan, a draft version of new virus rules will be ready by August. These will include guidelines for people suffering from long COVID, as well as an independent advisory body made up of infectious disease experts. In preparation for the post-COVID era, the new government will establish new R&D systems focusing on infectious diseases and also work on a law that allows for the rapid development of vaccines should another pandemic break out in the future. 송유진, Arirang News.
The local economy saw a slight rebound from the pandemic, according to the Korea Development Institute. But the volatile situation in Ukraine and other factors disrupting supply chains are spiking prices of commodities and other materials, which is a problem for many businesses. Kim Yong-sung reports.
The South Korean economy is recovering from the pandemic, but there are still major risks ahead. According to a report by the Korea Development Institute released on Monday, the service industry has been recovering, as have jobs, at least through this March. Experts project that the lifting of the social distancing curbs will continue to help fuel a robust economic rebound. March also saw strength in semiconductors and the pharmaceutical industry. Growth in production overall rose 3.1% in March. But that could soon be hampered by the volatile situation overseas. China's COVID-19 lockdowns and Russia's invasion of Ukraine are continuing to disrupt supply chains and drive up raw material prices. According to the report, as a result, South Korean exports are already slowing down. And car makers are seeing a dampening of production, with output declining from the year before. The impact of higher prices overseas, not just for fuel and food, is being felt by South Korean companies. The prices of bituminous coal, a vital ingredient in cement, have jumped more than threefold, while rebar prices have risen 64%. This has caused shutdowns at around 200 construction sites in the southern regions of Gyeongsang-do province, including Busan and Ulsan, with concrete and rebar suppliers going on strike until they get an increase in their contracted prices.
The construction of new apartments had to be halted because of the availability of construction materials. I think it's going to have a devastating effect upon stability of housing prices down the road, I think at least in a couple of years.
Suppliers in the capital region are also scheduled to discuss the possibility of a strike this Wednesday. If they also go on strike, about 70% of South Korea's construction sites may come to a halt and further deepen the long-term economic impact. Kim Yong-sung, Arirang News.
Moving on to other stories now, Seoul City is hosting its annual sports league for amateur athletes. It's open to all residents here in the capital who hope to take part in any of 8 designated events, including soccer and basketball. Registration up for some 12,000 participants is now open. The league begins in June and lasts 6 months. Participants will go through preliminary rounds and the finals. Winners can garner prize money of up to 1 million Korean won, or about roughly $800.
Unseasonably warm weather will be seen throughout this week. Central regions are forecast to be under early summer-like conditions tomorrow. Daytime highs in the capital will surpass the seasonal norms at 24 degrees Celsius. But eastern regions will see relatively cooler spells with more clouds for the daytime. Places like Pohang will only get up to 19 degrees. The air is circulating at a fairly fast rate, bringing clean air across the nation. For tomorrow, air quality will stand in the normal to good category nationwide. However, if you have plans for any outdoor activities, make sure to wear plenty of sunblock. UV radiation will be strong for the daytime hours in the strong to very high range. Overcast skies are expected for the morning hours. Seoul will start up at 13 degrees. Daytime highs will quickly rise, creating wide temperature gaps. Seoul will get up to 24 degrees. Daejeon and Chuncheon will reach 25 degrees. Until Wednesday, a few showers are expected for Jeju Island. Thursday will be the warmest day in Seoul with highs of 26 degrees. That's all for now, and here are the weather conditions around the world.
And that's all from us. As always, thank you for watching.
전통과 새로움이 만나 더 큰 가치를 만들어갑니다.